Yo, how y'all doing today? Recently, I've been trying to get back into reading more comics, or at least the newer runs. I got burned out from doing like a 2 or 3 month binge of trying to read every single Marvel comic that was relevant. Do not do it. It will kill you. You will not make it through X-Men. So after my little break, I thought what better way to get back into the swing of things than to read some Spider-Man. And I really enjoyed Ultimate. Then I caught up to it and I had to wait for chapters to come out, so I had to occupy myself. So I searched until I could find something that caught my interest, and I definitely found something. I found a comic that I've been meaning to read like almost a year ago, and I guess my brain made me forget the memory of seeing it announced in the first place. And that may have been a good thing, because what I ended up finding was Spider-Man Reign 2. And if you read the first one, just forget everything you know, because oh my god. Let's just get this over with. Let's get straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. Spider-Man Reign 2. And this comic book is definitely a comic book. It starts off with geriatric flabby Kingpin crawling out of rubble to see one of his former workers / caretakers. And the first thing he does is cannibalizes this person. We've heard of eat the rich, but what if the rich eats you? And then we get a bit of a time skip and we get to this next panel of Kingpin being dragged out of the blood tub, and he looks like this. And honestly, this take on Kingpin isn't really that bad. I think it's kind of cool. It has room to actually, be something. Sadly, it is in this comic book. And we soon find out that Kingpin also so happens to be the mayor of the city. Now, how he went from presumably crippled and cannibalizing people in the rubble of whatever building he was in to becoming the mayor of the city is beyond me, but we'll let it slide. And we also learned that apparently he's getting ready to broadcast some announcement to the city, which obviously can't be good for various reasons. And that brings us to our next scene. We see what appears to be a conversation between Peter and MJ. Your typical existentialism from Peter. And MJ's doing her best to reassure him because they have an art gallery to attend. And then we see something very odd. We get Spider Gramps, and MJ looks normal. And obviously this Spider-Man is supposedly retired. But what anti-aging machine is MJ on, and why is Peter not using it? Flash forward to them finally making it to the art gallery, and they're greeted by Harry. And from the text bubbles, we can assume that Peter left the Daily Bugle eventually and started taking pictures of MJ for her modeling career. And that's what this whole art gallery is set up around, and it was organized by Harry. And this is where things start to get weird. So they head upstairs, and Peter's friends are there. We got Flash, we got Betty. They all congratulate him, and Peter shares a kiss with MJ. And then all of a sudden, a roach crawls out of her mouth. And then there's a bunch of roaches. And then there's cackling. And then there's a roach horde. And as you guessed, this is all too good to be true. Come on, bro. Typical Parker luck is all a simulation. And we get a shot of Spider Jesus crucified in his old age. And I guess due to tangling himself up in the wires and cords, the tube with all the bugs in it that's feeding him ruptured, and then he falls down. Pretty fucking gross, bro. The 2 goons left on cleaning duty joke around about putting a red wig on and pretending to be MJ doing God knows what before they get diffed by this universe's Black Cat. And right here is where the story just dips off and starts to become I don't even know what. Crazy fan fiction. Peter's in this dazed state from obviously being pulled from the virtual world into the real world, and of course he wants to go back because who wants to be here? Then Black Cat, in an attempt to wake him up, you can't see it but I'm doing air quotes right now, she pretty much kisses him on the lips. And when you learn who this Black Cat is, it makes this scene very weird, bro. Like, very. And she calls herself Kitty Cat. Yay. No. Then she makes Peter don his iconic mask, and they make their haphazard escape. But not before they get missiles sent at them, which leads us to get into this glorious panel. Why does he have his spider bulge out with his spider grippers front and center? I don't understand. Like, anatomy is there's an individual sphere shape to show the bulge. And while he's web swinging away, Spider Idiot swings directly into a wall like Sam Raimi or something. It goes tumbling down to the streets below, only to land in the middle of a protest. And for some reason, one of the protesters comes up with the bright idea to throw a Molotov cocktail at the people with literal armed weapons pointed at them, until Fisk activates the electric cage and people get fried, claiming that the power grid malfunctioned due to the technology being dated, and everyone and everything in the city would eventually die and the city would collapse in on itself unless they partaked in the upload, which is probably what you can assume, them shedding their human flesh and uploading their consciousness to some one big technological hive mind. And while all of this chaos is unfolding, Peter somehow considers himself responsible for all of this, which makes no sense at all, until someone from the crowd finally recognizes Spider-Man and blames him for this as well, and Kitty Cat essentially defends him until weird hands come out of the ground and then drag them underground, Undertale. And when they finally land at the bottom, they find themselves in some weird techno cave apparently, And these gremlins, which we presume, honestly, I thought it was like mole people from Mole Man, are actually goblins. Say that again. And you guessed it, this cave belongs to Green Goblin. Except he's even more decrepit and he's attached to like 3 IV bags. But before we continue, I want to point something out real quick. Bro, what are these backgrounds? I don't like throwing around the accusation, but at first glance, these look AI. You're like, y'all see it, right? I'm not tripping, right? But anyways, through Green Goblin, we learned that Harry died from the event that made things the way they are now, and he explains that Peter turned himself in after things went left, and he offers him a way to fix it. And the solution to this problem is going back in time and stopping everything and undoing it essentially before it happens.
One last chance to fix everything. My bag.
And while all of this is unfolding, Kingpin decides to pay an old friend a visit. And this mystery man's response is, I'm retired. Because this man is no other than Miles Morales. Kingpin ropes him into whatever evil he's getting up to and tasks him with the assignment of taking in Peter or killing Peter, whichever one. And that now brings us to book 2. My God. Peter and Kitty Cat find themselves in a version of New York from the past. And Peter's first response is to dip off, ignore all plans, abandon responsibility, and go find MJ. While Kitty Cat is just stuck trying to figure out exactly what the plans are, until a goblin holds up a piece of paper and tells her to build bombs right here. Because of course Green Goblin wants to blow something up. Meanwhile, Peter is aggressively making his way through the city trying to find MJ. And eventually he finds the new apartment they were supposed to move into, and he just breaks through the skylight in the bathroom while this dude is either about to like take a dump or go take a shower. Going full on Batman screaming, "Where is she?" While naturally this guy is confused as to why Spider-Man is in his house and why is he old. Then all of a sudden an explosive goes off and boom, the Beetle and Vulture. And as for the dude in the bathroom, yeah, he is super dead. And Peter just straight up snaps the Beetle's neck, then spins a web and starts choking out the Vulture while still screaming, "Where is she?" And I'm not gonna lie, this page actually looks kind of cool. Can't even hate on this one, bro. Naturally, Vulture has no idea who she is, and Peter specifies this as MJ, and of course he still doesn't know who that is. So Peter just drops him down onto this car and he just dies immediately. And naturally, the citizens are like, bro, you just killed the dude. You don't kill people. And Peter's response is just,
he slipped.
So the people just start pressing him, asking him, who does he think he is?
I'm Spider-Man!
He swings back the Beetle, clearly teetering between life and death, and still questions him and asks him, where is she? He jumps on the ceiling, rips off a loose tile, and finds his old suit. And then, starts crying through his mask lens. Don't really know how that works, but okay. So he leaves and then swings off into the night, he's still looking for MJ. While Kitty Cat and the goblins break into this construction site that they're supposed to plant bombs under. When all of a sudden a portal opens up and Miles. Seeing his body in full for the first time when I was reading this, I'm just like, bro, why is he so buff? And this hoodie he has on is not it. Back to Peter though. He breaks into the Daily Bugle right on Jonah's desk and asks where is MJ again. Literally, how is he supposed to know this? Robbie walks in wondering what all the commotion is about, and Peter essentially asks him the same thing until Jameson pulls out a shotgun and accidentally shoots Robbie in an attempt to shoot Peter, but Peter has spider sense, so of course he's gonna dodge. And then Peter bites the shotgun in half. Jameson, being the half-wit that he is, blames Peter somehow. I don't even know how you rationalize that in your head. And during his mental breakdown, he mentions that Spider-Man killed Parker. Then we cut back to Miles hunting down Kitty and the Goblins, screaming that they need to take them back before they trigger a paradox event, but I think that ship already sailed when Peter killed the Beetle and Vulture. And while this is happening, Peter visits Aunt May. And clearly Aunt May has seen better days. And Peter asks her the same thing, where is Mary Jane? And bro, they gotta stop making him cry through his lenses. And while Peter is having his breakdown, he tells Aunt May that he's hurting her without even knowing it, in reference to Peter's fluids being radioactive. And Aunt May drops the bombshell to Peter that Peter's actually dead. And apparently this is good enough for Peter, and he dips. And then he gets jumped by the Shadow Man. But bruh, this isn't the Shadow Man, it's Venom. Of course it's Venom. But wait, this isn't Venom, it's Mary Jane.
My God.
And now we're on book 3. You see how this thing like devolves more and more as you keep going. Book 3 opens up with Peter and MJ. And Peter is clearly like not in his right mind. Mid-conversation, MJ is just disappearing and reappearing, attempting to reassure him, while Peter is going on about this loop that he feels like he's experiencing. Then we cut to a younger Peter. You know, that era of Peter where he wore the black suit but didn't really have the symbiote on way before Back in Black. And after noticing police sirens, he goes to check out whatever it is. And while this is happening, MJ gets mugged on the streets for her belongings. But instead of Peter showing up to help, it's actually Venom this time. And before MJ could catch a glimpse of Venom, he shifts back into Eddie Brock, and MJ thanks him for retrieving her purse, while under the guise that Peter is the one that actually handled the criminals. And when MJ does make her way back to their shared apartment, she finds Peter dead. And as time goes on, eventually MJ starts to hate Peter. Until one day the Venom symbiote finds MJ and they bond and become Venom. Now where Eddie Brock went, I don't know, and how MJ came up with this conclusion of hating Peter, it makes no sense at all and it's completely out of character. And apparently single-handedly this MJ Venom drove all the heroes out of the city. That's not happening, but okay. And through ruthlessness, I guess she brought peace to the city, air quotes again. She also says that this isn't the first time a version of Peter went back in time to try to save her. So she summons some of Peter's old villains to jump him and prevent him from ruining things further by, I guess, killing him. But she actually ends up sparing him, and we see Spider Jesus crucified again. Then Miles shows up and it's exposition time. Okay, so Miles explains that a version of this Peter Parker went back in time and actually killed this timeline's MJ's Peter Parker and staged it the second time Peter went back in time to save MJ, and Fisk thought Peter wouldn't do it again until he went back and tried over and over again because he kept forgetting that he did it in the first place, putting himself in a time loop. And due to him doing that, the barriers between time became unstable, causing a cataclysm to happen called the Event, and Fisk saved the city by activating an electric field from earlier called the Web. It was the purple electric thing that was killing everyone. So after that, Miles hunted down Peter and captured him, and Fisk set up a virtual life for Peter that we saw in book 1, giving Peter the perfect life with MJ until the headset came off. Convoluted, I know. And Peter's response to all this is to just punch Miles and say, no, I'm gonna do my own thing. So Miles and Peter fight for a little bit, and then Kitty shows up. Oh, and yeah, we're on book 4 now. And then we get the bombshell that Miles is actually her father in backstory time. We get a flashback to right before the event happens, and the mother is, you guessed it, Spider-Gwen. But the issue is they're at a crossroads. Miles believes going back into the city and trusting that the web will save them is the solution, but Gwen thinks the web is a trap. So Miles dips off and leaves them behind. And in response, Cat bites Gwen to run off and chase after Miles. Now how Gwen's spider sense didn't go off, I don't know, but whatever. But right before Gwen could get her, the web goes up and she appears to be dead. Now with this new knowledge of who Cat is, think about the first book and that kiss. Just stop letting Carrie Andrews cook, bro. Just wrap it up, just stop. And this entire time, Miles thought they were both dead, so he's just sitting there stun-locked, but Cat is obviously mad and lashes out. And Felicia actually ended up being the person that found her initially and took her under her wing, more or less. Which is why she's the pseudo-black cat. But Miles already remarried and had new kids, so whatever. And we get this dialogue of Peter actually acting like Peter for once and, you know, quipping at the people trying to kill him until MJ Venom pops up again and consumes him. And then Peter finds himself in this weird white void, younger, and it appears to be kind of like his inner psyche, I guess. And MJ shows up, also younger. They share a really cool, touching moment, and MJ finally convinces Peter to let go of the past. And now we're back in the real world because Miles completely blew the symbiote off of Peter. And for some reason, now Peter is like cleanly shaven and has his full suit on. I don't really know what that means. Mary Jane is still lamenting in the fact that her Peter is dead, of course, but she accepts that she was saved by this Peter, even if it was, you know, through interesting means. And Peter and the gang are prepping to head back to the present. But that bomb that Goblin wanted still isn't set up yet, so one of the little grunt goblins decides to stay behind and set it up and pretty much sacrifice himself, I guess. Gobby, you will be missed. And Peter and Miles kind of reconcile for the most part. And that brings us to book 5, the final book. And by the time they make it back to the present, the upload is already occurring and they're too late. And we soon find out that the upload isn't really uploading their consciousness. They're just being fed into a machine and dying. And then the Green Goblin shows up and gives Cat orders to prep the detonator and Miles to, you know, keep everyone at bay. He questions Peter and asks if he brought back what he needed, and Peter is like, I didn't get a chance to, and you know, Goblin just calls him a disappointment. Cat questions how this plan is even going to work because the timeline that they went back to isn't on their actual timeline and events happen differently and it's all paradoxical and weird and it's like branching verses clearly. And Goblin's only response is that time is only one path, which is just a non-explanation, bro. When they finally detonate the bombs, the explosion is lackluster to say the least. So their attempt was essentially in vain and Gobby sold the bag. So Peter takes matters into his own hands. They nearly kill the Green Goblin and apprehend Miles, which leaves Kingpin and Spider-Man. A classic 1v1, or at least it would be if, yeah. They straight up made Kingpin Gluttony from 2003 Full Metal Alchemist, and the others look on in horror as Peter is beaten into a bloody pulp. And when it looks like all hope is lost, Venom. And this fight instantly becomes one-sided. Venom literally rips him apart, and we find out that this Kingpin, is a robot or a cyborg, I'm not too sure, but whatever. And Venom offers a partnership with Peter to where they can rule over the city as not the lethal protector, but just essentially a ruthless dictator. Obviously, Peter declines this. So they head to the nuclear reactor to stop this once and for all, but it's guarded by lasers and poisonous gas. The two make it to the core and rip it open, and they both explode into oblivion. And the last thing Peter sees is MJ leading him towards the light. Cinema. Now, me personally, you know, the whole time I was reading this, I was thinking the fact that Venom wouldn't even make it this far and the suit would burn off and Peter would die and it would all be in vain, but whatever. But after their sacrifice, the web comes down and the outside world is revealed and everything was an illusion within the city. This supposed event was all a lie. It was all a ploy by Fisk to gather all the people in one area and keep them trapped there and maintain control, so upload them to some AI for some unknown reason that we don't know about. We don't know the exact when and how Peter initially went back in time those first few times, because apparently they took place way in the past and the old version of Peter didn't even show up. Meaning that Peter going back in time still happened, but the whole timeline destabilization thing was all a hoax, but nobody could confirm it apparently. Doctor Strange couldn't confirm it, Reed couldn't confirm it, Tony couldn't confirm it. What? This was all a product of mass hysteria, and all of this was for no reason and could have been easily prevented. And we get to see that all the heroes are there and they're fully intact, and while they were on the outside, they somehow couldn't find a way to get inside. I don't think this technology is that advanced. The only person that was really behind this was Fisk. We don't see anyone else with any level of intellect to make something to where neither Tony Stark nor any of the Fantastic Four could actually get into this and crack this code. I mean, this thing is held together by a nuclear reactor that Venom could easily peel open, and his weakness is fire. Make this make sense. And we get to see Kat reunite with Gwen, and when Miles notices her, he just says she's an old friend while hugging his new wife. And I was just staring at the screen like, bro, that's it? Like, you thought your wife was dead and that's it? And then they ride off into the sunset. But not before one last thing. Some recon team in hazmat suits, you know, to combat the radiation, are investigating some of the ruins from the area until they stumble upon something weird, something that looks like a web cocoon, until Spider-Man punches out of it. And that's the end. This is, I don't know how they even wrote this. 90% of this does not make any sense whatsoever. A lot of people were out of character. I just, you know what? Finn.
Up in here with my tool, they can find you in the ditch, yeah. Straight for high rule, you not from it, you a glitch, yeah. Man of my rules, running with the misfits, yeah. Do not misclick, that's gonna get you hit quick, yeah. Death on death, it's God, ain't no variation, it's Lord X Lord. I keep a paradise, saw an X out of Claude. And my name Lucy, when I talk, you know.